Good morning, good evening, namaste. It's Sarina Michaels here from the Inlake community and the Cosmic Drumbeat, bringing to you another little insight. Sometimes I call them Insights by Sarina, little stream of consciousness teachings on subjects that people have asked me about or subjects that interest me. Today, I want to talk about the Akashic Records. The Akashic Records is a very interesting subject. As I always say, this is a huge topic. There's lots of articles, YouTube teachings, blogging, perhaps books written about the Akashic Records, which you can Google and find. But here are a few thoughts about what I think about the Akashic Records from a shamanic point of view. Now, I can only talk about what I know, what I've experienced. And I don't proclaim myself to be an expert in any way. So please just take what I say and apply it if it's useful. And if you want more information, Google Akashic Records. Now, the word Akashic is a Sanskrit word which was adopted in the 1800s to describe this place or this consciousness that we now call the Akashic Records. The word Akashic actually means, these are loose interpretations, of course, in English. There's no perfect translation. But the loose interpretation from the Sanskrit word could mean luminous or sky or, the ether, which is all around us in the mystical sense, the ether, or space. So it's a space or a place. I think of it as a place, and I'll tell you why in a minute. Now, the Akashic Records is a place that holds memories, events, actions, thoughts, feelings, everything from every lifetime from the beginning. We don't know when the beginning was. And I don't know, I'm not an expert, as I said. I don't know if it holds everything from the entire universe, which is what some would say, or if it simply holds the records of every life. And that would be every life that you've lived, not just the current life that you're in. Now, this, of course, means that you would subscribe to the idea of reincarnation, or the idea that you are part of a soul family or a larger, higher self, which travels and incarnates into different lives at different times in different time frames. And different dimensions, and is not necessarily a human life, but can be many kinds of lives, including what we would call all our relations in the shamanic sense. You could be incarnated as a tree, or as a rock, or as an animal of some kind, as a human, or as an extraterrestrial, someone at a higher consciousness. There are angelic incarnations, angels deciding to live as humans so that they can anchor light in the planet. There's all kinds of lives that you can incarnate as a human. But there's many other lives as well. So having said that, let me just say that the word Akashic is not the only word that you can use to describe this place of records. I call it the Hall of Records. I don't know that I ever heard anyone call it the Hall of Records to me in all the teaching that I've received over the years and the shamanic mentoring that I've received. But as I began to do shamanic journeys, and I would, not only for myself but for clients and friends, would be taken to this place. And I call it a place because when I go there, it's a definite place where I can look into past lives, or as I always say, concurrent lives, because there's no time, there's no linear time outside of a 3D reality, the reality that we're living in and that I'm talking from. All lives are happening, all realities are happening, all universes are happening concurrently. So when I do shamanic journey, I am given the great privilege sometimes of going and seeing past or concurrent lives and things that might have happened in those lives that are affecting the life that you're living right now, the you and me talking back and forth in this life. And I get information from those lives that sometimes is very helpful to the client in this life. So I call it the Hall of Records. I know when I used to be in the Christian church, there was a phrase, the Book of Life. That's the way we were taught. The Book of Life was where every name was written down. That's a very simple explanation to me of how every life is recorded. And as I said before, all events, actions, thoughts, and feelings are there to be looked at and to receive information from. So that's a basic description of the Akashic Records, the Hall of Records, the Akashic consciousness that we can go and obtain information from. So can anybody do this? Well, according to many teachers, yes. You do need some instruction, and there are many courses out there on how to approach the Akashic Records. In my case, I usually, very often when I am taken to a client's Akashic Records, it's a very specific place with an entry point. Sometimes the entry point is guarded, and I of course I must have permission from the client before I ever go into journey to look at any records of past lives or other lives, or even the past memories in this life that would be helpful to them in their healing process. So sometimes I have to gain permission. Even when I approach the records themselves, there will be a guardian who will make sure that I have permission before I am allowed to enter. Other times the permission is so, the client is so trusting of me that when I am taken there, and when I journey, I don't know where I'm going to go. I'm just taken to different places where information is given to me for the client or for myself. When I go there, this is the way it presents to me. And I would say that this is a very individual thing. It is not necessarily the way anyone else sees the Akashic Records. So I cannot speak for anyone else, or even what experience you would have if you go into meditation, or what I call shamanic trance in my case, which is I achieve through drumming and intention. I am presented with corridors of doors. Now, a corridor, for someone whose English is not your first language, is a hallway or a passageway. So I will see passageways of doors, and every door will have a red light on it, meaning do not enter. And then I will always be shown, if this is where I've been taken in journey, a green light, or maybe two, never more than two. I can't remember that I've ever had more than two. So I will simply open the door and walk in. Now, in my case, because I'm a very visual journeyer, doesn't mean I see things like a movie, but I'm given impressions, very strong impressions of places and things and colors and feelings, and I'm extremely in the journey. That's how it is for me. So I will immediately be in a past or concurrent life. Might be a future life. And sometimes, like, I'll give you an example. I'll open the door and I'll walk in, and I'm in a jungle, and I will just keep walking, and then I will see someone, or a village, or someone that I will see will be the client or myself in a past life. And I will just be the observer. I don't interact in the Akashic Records. That's not my role. My role as a shamanic practitioner is simply to gather information to help the client or myself in the healing journey, because we are our own healers, okay? Very, very important. So I will observe, and until I feel led to leave whatever's going on. Let me think if I can think of an example from one of my journeys. One time I was in a Siberian forest, and it was clearly another timeline, perhaps the Middle Ages of our current world. And I could see a village burning and a little child running out into the woods, and following the child and recognizing that the child was experiencing extreme trauma because his family had been killed, and the child then subsequently died in the forest from exposure and starvation. Now, this was not a happy Akashic record, in the sense that what I saw was the end of the life of this child. So, I gathered that information and took it back to the client, and then we agreed from that perhaps there needed to be some soul retrieval. Soul retrieval is when you go back and gather a piece of a person they've left behind. Could be in this lifetime due to trauma, or in another lifetime due to trauma, or even another dimension, across dimensions. Trauma can kind of snatch a piece of you and keep it there. And so when I did the ceremony for the ancestral healing for this person, I was taken back to that place, and instead of it going forward, it went backward to the time when the child was living in the cottage in the village that was burned, and there was so much happiness, and the child was so loved, and there was so much comfort and peace and singing and dancing, and so that became the memory versus what happened later, and a healing was affected for this client. At any rate, I think that I probably said enough to give you a flavor for what Akashic Records are, or as I call, the Hall of Records. If you want to experience that, contact me at my website is sarinastouch.com, sarinastouch.com, and I can check out your records for you to see if there's anything that would be of use to you in your healing journey. But that's all I want to say today about Akashic Records. I want to send my love and blessings to everyone, wherever you are on Mother Earth's skin. This has been a pleasure, as always. I'm Sarina Michaels, and I'm a shamanic practitioner. Namaste.